Hey YouTube, Mustang here. Today I'm gonna go through a simple ramp start procedure and show you a pretty easy way to get up and going, and I'm gonna try to tell you all the key commands as I'm doing it, and if it's just point and click, well, you know the deal. Alright, here we go. Alright Nuggets, what we're trying to do here is to get this A10 ready to fly and without all the headache, because when you're going through this startup checklist, sometimes stuff won't operate as per intended due to that it's not the real thing, but it is a simulator. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go down to the electrical panel. I'll zoom in on it for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. And you're going to turn your battery power on, your inverter to standby, your APU gen power, and go up to the caution panel, left click the master caution, and that'll take that off. Now, since usually it's all on the same panel here, I like to go ahead and set these to on, so when the engines come online, it automatically starts providing power to our systems. And then I like to go over to the fuel panel right here, this panel, and turn our boost pumps on, so we know everything's going to be getting fuel. Alright, pop back to front position. Okay, cleared, no personnel around. Alright, and it's going to get noisy, so let's go ahead and close the cockpit with Control C and hold that down, Control C, until it fully closes. Okay, now we're ready to turn on the APU. So on the APU panel, let me focus in on that for you right here. Left click it to APU start. And we can see that the APU located here on these indicators is spooling up. And after this hits the optimal parameters, these lights right here will go away, showing that we're getting hydraulic power to our systems. There you go. Boom. Done. Alright, give that a few more seconds. Stabilize. Cool deal. Alright, continuing on. Now we're going to go down to the position lights, oxygen panel, excuse me. You don't want to die of a hypoxia. You're going to click that to on. And saw that indicated here that we were getting fuel flow. And on this button here, go ahead and left click and press that. Hold it down. Oxy-low indicator light comes on. And it cuts off. Cool deal. Alright. Moving on to this panel, this is your nav lights, external and external lights. And here's the deal with this, little tricks that I was talking about. When you left click this, it does not want to stay on. Right click it, whatever, wish it on, will it on, pray to Allah, whatever, it ain't coming on. But what I figured out is that if you push left control and P, and then you left click it, and voila, it stays on. So now you can move on to the other ones. So formation lights, about a quarter of the way. Let's go halfway. I like to be seen. Alright, position lights, left click position flash, nose illumination, engine instrumentation lights, about halfway, quarter of the way. Auxiliary lights, same thing. Auxiliary and compass lights, a little bit of console lights, makes things easier to see. Flight instruments, quarter of the way. Floodlight, just a hair. I don't like too much washout. Alright, moving on. Before we start our engines, we need to get permission from the tower, so we're going to turn on our radio systems. So we're going to go down to the left side, zoom in for you, and we're going to turn on this comm right here, transmit receive, this comm, this knob to preset, this knob to both, there it is, both, and this knob on the lower comm to also to transmit receive. Okay, we should be hooked up there, ready to call the tower for permission to start up. Alright, so let's do that. So you're going to hit backslash on your keyboard. It's going to bring up the radio menu, and we're going to hit F5. And usually the airbase, air station that you are on, or currently starting up on, is going to be the first one. Don't quote me on this, but this is usually pretty standard, I guess. So F1 and F3.
Takomi, Hog 1-1, request startup. Hog 1-1, Takomi, cleared for startup, wind 151 at 8 meters per second.
And there we go. We got clearance to start. Now, before we move on, we're going to exit out of this because we don't want to hit F3 by accident, mashing buttons around, and then we abort our takeoff and got to start that all over. So we're going to hit F12 to exit, and we're done with that. Alright. So now, I'm going to go ahead, before we start our engines, one more thing I like to do is I like to turn the CDU on. Get that up and try and do a line. Also, we're going to push this knob, select it to the flight plan, and this knob to the steer position. That's my preference. This is what I usually fly on. So that gets me where I need to go. So let that warm up. And while that's waiting, go over here to the anti-skid and the landing lights. You're going to left click that to on. Right click this to the on position, so we have our taxi light when we're ready to go. If you look outside, our lights are on. There you go. We can see. Alrighty. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our KICU to the on position. The Datalink or the jitters we don't have to worry about yet, or at all in this tutorial. We won't be using it. And the IFFCC to the test position. Now if you look up in our HUD, it says engage pre-flight bit. Yes. So on your upfront controller, go ahead and push enter. And it says center yaw trim and press TO trim. So down on this panel, you'll see this button right here, takeoff trim. Go ahead and left click and hold that for a few seconds and then release and let that go. For our yaw pitch SAS, go ahead and click these to the forward on position and then back up to the HUD. So it's running its test. We'll watch it for a minute as it rolls through it.
Pull up, pull up. Altitude, altitude.
Alright, no failures found. You've got a good ship. And what you're going to do is you're going to select enter on the upfront controller to exit. And also on the upfront controller, you're going to move down on the select rocker key to exit. Boom, exit. Also hit enter. And now, what do you do here? There's no exit function to get out of this, right? Wrong. Okay, you move down out of the test position on your IFC and left click it up, and there you go. You got your HUD. Now if you look down here, you have a little note, and I'll show you how to get rid of that. You're going to go ahead and click your left right MFCDs to the day position on, And if you look right here, it says ACK, acknowledge button. So you're going to hit this OSB button, and bam, gone, cleared it out. Now, this button here is going to load all your navigation, stores information, everything you need to operate this aircraft from your mission is going to be loaded into here. So you're going to left click and hold for a couple seconds and then let go. All these little dots that were here disappeared. Now in a few seconds, maybe 30, 40 seconds, they're going to come back on, and then that's going to let you know everything's been loaded up correctly. And I'll cycle through the various pages so you can get a good look at that. There they go. There they are. All the little dots are there and on. So if we go to our terrain map, our moving map, we can see that we have something there. Also, on the left DTS page, we're going to go to the CDU. Now if you look here, it says INS nav ready. This is bullshit. And I'll tell you why after we get the engine spooled up and a little trick I learned. So if you are running this flight sim and you're having problems getting this INS nav ready, see, even though it's flashing, it ain't ready. Okay, so we'll come back to that after we start up the engines, and I'll let you know how to fix that. So here we go, ready to fire up. What you're going to do is for the left engine, you're going to push right Alt and the home key, and then let go. If you monitor right here, you're going to see that this is starting to engage. There you go. Since we're waiting, one more thing I forgot. I usually do before I fire up the engines, but not all the time. It just depends on what I'm waiting on. But I like to set the seat ejection handle. And click that off, just letting us know we don't need the APU generator on anymore. See, it says APU gen. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to arm it, because if something were to happen to the engine, a runaway engine or something, which I have seen happen, throttle quadrant on a F-18 let go while a enlisted personnel was in the cockpit doing a lower power turn, it went into full military power with only 3 chains on the jet. The enlisted person did the correct shutdown procedures and did the proper shutdown sequence, but it could have been a mishap, a big one. So thank God nothing happened. So that's why you always want to be able to punch out just in case. Alright, that looks good to go. Everything's stabilized, and we're going to move on to our next engine. And when you turn on the engines, you'll see it, you'll know it's cycling up by this light right here. It says engine cycle start. So we're going to go ahead and hit right control and home for our right engine, and then let go. And there it is, engine cycle start. You can see that right there. Slowly coming online. And light's still on. Give it a few seconds. There it goes. It's out. And we're stabilized. So now that we're online, I'm going to do one quick check before I move on to the next sequence of how to get your ILS alignment. Alright, that's good. That's good. Everything's online. Alright, one more thing real quick. Go to your DSMS page And if you're carrying MAV missiles, you usually want to do this before you take off so you don't forget in the air. And then when you go to launch a Maverick, it says launch inhibit because you were a dumbass and forgot to initiate your EO timer. Because on these Mavericks down here, they have a seeker head on it that needs to be warmed up. Now, if you don't warm these up, you ain't killing shit. At least not with that. Alright, so what we're going to do is you go to the DSMS page. Zoom in for you. Go to the missile OSB key and hit EO on. Now, if you look down here, a little timer showed up. It usually takes about 2 or 3 minutes, somewhere in there, to spool up. Also, while I'm on the ground, I'll go ahead and engage my TGP. That way it's ready for me when I need it. And it usually takes 2 minutes for this to warm up. And it'll say not timed out. When it does warm up, it'll give you a menu list of air-to-ground, air-to-air modes. And you can select which one you want due to your mission, whatever your mission is. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the CDU. Back to our moving map. And alright, so one more thing. Underneath this handle here, there are 2 switches. A radar, altimeter, and where is it? Right there, our EAC on and off. What these do is this ties in with our IGI system, our navigational system here. Well, I can push on this all day long and nothing happens, but it says INS ready. I'm having alignment, but I really don't. Now, you may be aligned to your GPS, but your autopilot will not know where it's at or when to engage because it's not getting a proper IGI alignment. So you can press this, move this up and down, and it won't do nothing to engage your autopilot. So what you have to do is your radar altimeter, where is that one at? Right there. Go ahead and click that into the on position, and your light here, the GCAS light, will go out. You can go ahead and shut off our APU and our gen. We don't need that anymore. You can kill that. And right here, APU off. Bye-bye. Oh, I can hear. Okay. So now what you want to do is we're going to get this turned on. Well, how do you do that? If you're pushing all the buttons and it don't work, I'm sure there's somebody's figured out another workaway around it, but this is what I figured out due to past experience. When I was in the Fighter Squadron VFA 22, the Fighting Redcocks, when I was in the U.S. Navy, I was a troubleshooter aboard the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, and I worked on F-18 Super Hornets. Now, we would run into this problem where the pilot would not get a GPS INS alignment, and you got to take certain factors into consideration. That it's not steady like this. It's not on the ground. It's on a moving ship, on a moving deck. Things are moving around, and it might be hard for the satellites to pick up where that is exactly, because the radar altimeter is bouncing around, because they usually park these F-18s tail over water. Okay, but since we're steady on the deck, it shouldn't be doing this. It shouldn't be giving us this problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the fix that I did to get that to work on deck. What I would do is I would unchalk the jet, unchain it, move it forward a few feet, lock it back down, and then try the IGI alignment and the EAC switch again and see what happened. So lo and behold, it fucking worked. And I tried it in this game just for shits and giggles when I couldn't figure out anything else to get my autopilot to come on. I tried this fix that I used to use in real world applications, and I'm going to show it to you right now. So I'm going to call to taxi out, /F5, F1 for Sakumi Tower, F1 to taxi to the runway.
Sakumi, Hog 1-1, request taxi to runway.
So now we're going to go ahead and taxi forward. Oh, excuse me. Push the insert key so you can have some nose wheel steering. Slowly throttle up. And throttle back. And brake check. Nose wheel steering check is good. And watch this, folks. Watch this shit. Iggy on. We got our Iggy on. Oh, that sounded a little weird. Get your Iggy on. Okay, so now we go over to the EAC switch underneath the handle and left click that. Now if you look on this panel, guess what? No more lights. Right on. So we're pretty much good to go here. Look down the runway. Nothing happening. Cleared to taxi out. And if you wanted to, you could turn on your jammer, and that would be right here. You'd click it in the auto or semi or manual position, whatever your preference, and you would click out the predetermined program by flipping these switches up. But since we're not fighting today, we're just showing you a tutorial. This is how you do it. So that's the easy startup procedure for the A-10C Warthog without going through anything too complicated. I just wanted to show you guys what some of the hang-ups were that I found and how to get by them rather quickly. So thanks once again. This is Mustang. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any questions or comments in the box below, and happy flying. Take it easy, guys.